Hey everybody, got a new series of videos I'm going to do for the Hunting Beast channel, and what I got going on is it's January 10th now. It's deer season's over here in Indiana for the most part. We have some reduction zones that are still open, but for me, deer season ends, scouting begins, preparation for next year begins, and that's what this video is going to be about. In Dan's Indiana videos that you saw in the fall this year, he hunted one of my private farms with me and gave me some suggestions on how to make things better, how to improve upon what I have there. What the place is, it's a really the huntable area is about 100 acres, and I would say it's probably 80% agriculture, and then there's a fairly large chunk of CRP field along with some wood or ditch lines, with a pretty large creek that's probably, I would say, 10 yards wide with some mature timber along the edges of it. Dan gave me some pointers on what to do with this farm to make it better. This farm has a lot of potential in my opinion, and it's not lived up to it. Mostly that's my fault, but I got a little compact tractor this year that I'm going to be able to use on the property and make it better. And I'm going to make it to where hopefully for you guys it's all very realistic. A lot of people have a 100-acre piece that they can on private land that they can hunt, whether it be a small lease or a knock on door for free permission type of a spot. This particular farm, just to give you a background of it, I don't know how many years my family's hunted this farm. My grandpa hunted it when he was younger. My dad, my uncles hunted it. I've hunted it. It's been in our family hunting. We've never owned it, obviously, but for many years, the farmer's a great family friend. We're really fortunate to have him as a family friend, and he pretty much gives us full reign of the property for hunting related scenarios. I got permission from the farmer yesterday to actually do some hinge cutting in an area where Dan suggested I create a bedding area, and I'm going to show you guys that. So this first video is just kind of be an introduction of the property. I got my tractor. I'm going to mow some of the CRP area where the food plots are going to be, and I'll go and explain what those food plots, why we chose those locations, me and Dan. And I have not made a decision on what I want to do as far as as what I'm going to plant in those food plots. So that's something that maybe in the comments we can talk about. I am not a food plot expert. I have some buddies that are. I've obviously there's a lot of resources out there to read about it. But it'd be interesting to see what you guys think. So let's get out to the property and get the tractor off the trailer and start the process. As you come into the property from the south, there is a large CRP field that's about 30 acres in size. On the south side of this property borders a old railroad track that has now grown up to be pretty thick and a really good area for deer to bed in. This will be the first area where we'll make some habitat improvements that Dan has suggested. As you can see, there's a finger that comes out of the railroad track into the middle of the CRP field. The portion of the finger closest to the railroad track is actually pretty thick, and I've actually jumped some nice bucks out of that area. There's also bedding along the railroad track and in the middle of the CRP field in a low area where a drainage ditch is. To the east of this bedding is a crop field, typically planted in corn each year. Our plan for this area is to plant a 1-acre food plot, with hopes that deer bedding in these locations will hit the food plot before going down to the crop fields at night to feed. I'll put a stand in this location to hunt the food plot on a north or a west wind. Then exit the stand to the south through the railroad tracks and across a horse pasture where deer do not seem to travel. This will help me avoid the crop fields in the evening. The next location for improvement is about 600 yards from the front food plot. The best bedding on this side of the farm is actually on the neighbors just to the west of my farm. This is a low, swampy area that seems to hold the most mature bucks. From time to time, deer will also bed in this low, brushy area in the middle of the CRP. Our plan is to plant a food plot in this location and place a stand here in hopes to catch the deer getting up before dark, hitting our food plots before going down to the crop fields to feed at night. This stand will have to be hunted with a west wind. Exiting the stand is going to be tricky. My thoughts are to cut a path through the CRP field to avoid the crop fields and also the food plot at night when leaving. Another option is to exit the tree stand into the standing corn, go a few rows deep, and walk out in the corn rows when the corn is standing. There's one more very important area Dan suggested I make improvements. I tell you it's very important because it's an overlooked spot on my farm that literally nobody has ever hunted. Dan picked it out right away, and I challenge everybody to look at their private farms and find overlooked spots on it. I promise you they exist. Instead of explaining this area on the aerial video, I thought I would just simply walk you guys through this area on my farm. In the video, this is the area I am walking through. And this is the path I took to get into the area. Okay, I'm going to go and take you to this overlooked spot on this farm that Dan kind of pointed out to me, and Dan actually hunted here one time. And you have to go across this pretty large creek, as you can see here, and there's actually a tractor path here that the farmers use to go back and forth between fields. So this field out here, I think they call it the island field because it's actually surrounded by creeks and whatnot. So I'm gonna go across here, and I will show you guys what it looks like back in here. The only problem I will have getting to this spot is when we have a lot of rain. That creek will be deep enough where you'd have to have a boat to go across it. It'd be 8 or so feet deep. So something I gotta take into consideration. I may even have to take a little canoe to go across it. So what we got is just a little pinch point here between two fields, and on this farm that I have, there's very little trees on it, and the only trees are along this little creek, and it's essentially just the creek bed or the banks that have trees on it. This part right here is the widest part, and then it kind of widens up as you go down the creek this way, and then that runs into town down there. But you can see there's a little pinch point here where the fence and the creek is, and there's a really good path going through here. I have never sat back in here. I think Dan may have been the first person to ever come back in here and sit. So let's go back here and see what it looks like. So when I say it gets wider here along the creek, I'm talking 40 yards wide. I'm not talking hundreds of yards wide or anything. It's just a really tiny, subtle increase in the amount of timber along this creek, and then after you get past this little spot, it narrows back down again. So just a little spot that deer could bed. We even talked about possibly doing some hinge cutting in here, and that's something I got to do more research. I know I got to do it in the next couple months, but to thicken this little patch of woods up here, and I'll show you this woods here. You can see it's kind of open. It looks like back in here we get a little thicker, but for the most part a lot of mature timber, and then a lot of these I think they're called ironwood trees. So I have no idea if those are good hinge cutting trees. I will find that out, but I could hinge cut a whole bunch of those to make it a little thicker in here, give the deer some more security cover and bedding. And me and Dan talked about this spot the other night, and I really have to think about what a buck would want in a bedding area in here. Does he's going to want to be watching transition areas where coyotes and people are going to be walking, in those transition areas here in this spot are going to be this creek edge, and then obviously the cornfield edges. Yeah, it's just something I got to think about, and this is some of this stuff as far as property management is brand new to me. So lots of research in the next couple weeks on it to figure out what I want to do. But let's keep on going. Looks like up in here it's going to get a little thicker. as you can see, there's some layovers and stuff up in here. So I'd imagine, oh, look right here. That's a pretty good rub. That's about about thigh high here. So that's a good sign. So the rub was just that I showed you guys was probably 20 yards back in here, and then look here, pretty good size little scrape area here. So definitely was a buck in here working it at least this year, and during the rut more than likely. I don't see a lot of like really fresh, even though those scrapes are open still. I don't see big buck sign in them. Doesn't mean there's not one in here. I'm just not seeing any big tracks or anything. I haven't jumped any deer or anything like that, but you can see here another scrape on the other side of this tree that has all the limbs hanging over here. So yeah, this is definitely a spot that I've neglected, I guess, over the years. Totally neglected, and that you know, Dan kind of gave me pointers of coming in here. So yeah, I wanted to show you guys this spot. This is going to be a series of videos on, you know, property improvements that you can do. That I'm not a rich feller, so it's going to be done with little small tractors and you know, just kind of good old-fashioned hard work with your hands, and see how much better I can make it and take you guys along, and kind of show you guys some of the things how Dan thinks about private pieces, because most of us, although a lot of us still hunt a lot of public land, as I do as well, you know, there's probably more people than not that doesn't have, you know, a 40 or 100 acre little chunk of land that they're allowed to hunt. Now, keep this in mind, this is by no means a low pressure spot. This summer I had you know, bird hunter, or this summer I had Jeeps driving around out here, four-wheelers. I had some guy with his shirt off walking through the CRP field. I don't know how in the world he didn't have sticker burrs and thorns and everything all over him. There's guys that small game hunt in here all the time. In the CRP field back there, there's guys that bird hunt it. And then there's also some guys that trap on this land, because we do have kind of a varmint problem here. So by no means I would not consider this place a place to myself per se. And for example, 2 years ago, opening day of deer season, we had 6 guys. 6 other guys on this property. They were not supposed to be here, but they were here. So whether they're supposed to be here or not, the deer don't care. It's still a lot of pressure. Since then, we have taken care of some of those problems, but I'm sure they're going to exist still in the future. So yeah, that's kind of the overview of my property and what we're going to do with it. And I hope you guys enjoy this video. If you guys have any questions or comments, be sure to leave them down below, and me and Dan will get to them. So thanks, guys.